Chakotay's Star Trek promotion almost made Chris Pine's Kirk becoming captain seem logical. Star Trek characters often reach the rank of captain by gradually ascending through the ranks as their Starfleet careers progress, but there are examples of those within the franchise who find alternate paths to their first command. One of the biggest examples is a member of the Star Trek Voyager cast, with Robert Beltran's Commander Chakotay somehow managing to take the next step in his career upon returning to Earth. Over in the Kelvin timeline, Chris Pine's James T. Kirk also rose to the rank of captain unconventionally. However, one path is far more believable. Pine has played Kirk in 3 Star Trek movies, but it's his promotion to captain at the end of 2009 Star Trek that often draws the most debate. Beltran was in every season of Star Trek Voyager before it ended in 2001, and he also came back to reprise the role as part of the Star Trek Prodigy cast in 2022. The animated show, which served as a soft Voyager sequel, revealed Chakotay had also been promoted to captain, which is somewhat surprising given his arc in the show with which he's most commonly associated. Captain Chakotay and the Kelvin timeline's Captain Kirk both had weird paths to their first commands. Modern Star Trek has addressed most of the characters from Voyager and their lives after the show ended, including Chakotay. Although his timeline was left unaddressed for a long time, Star Trek Prodigy revealed Beltran's character was the captain of the USS Protostar. What's unusual about this is that Captain Janeway Kate Mulgrew only gave Chakotay a field promotion to commander in Voyager's first episode. He had once been a Starfleet lieutenant commander, but he defected to join the Maquis. So Janeway made the bold decision to not only reinstate his commission, but also promote him. Chakotay spent at least 7 years as Starfleet commander under a provisional title only. Before then, he had been a member of the Maquis. Therefore, Chakotay spent at least 7 years as Starfleet commander under a provisional title only. Before then, he had been a member of the Maquis, a group seen as terrorists through certain eyes. As such, it would have been understandable if Starfleet stripped Chakotay of his rank when he returned to Federation space at the end of Star Trek Voyager. This didn't happen, and he was permitted to retain his rank, plus given his own command after being promoted once more, this time to a non-provisional captain. Pine's Kirk also had a weird rise to the top in Star Trek canon. A separate entity from the Kirk made famous by William Shatner in Star Trek the original series, Pine's Kelvin timeline Kirk had a blisteringly fast ascension to the captain's chair aboard his USS Enterprise. Over the course of 2009 Star Trek movie, Kirk goes from a rebellious Starfleet cadet straight to the commanding officer of the fleet's flagship. There's no time jump, and he's permitted to skip every other rank that would traditionally precede captain. So he fits into a similar category to the prime Chakotay. Chakotay's promotion journey still makes way more sense than Pine's Kirk. Arguably, neither man deserved to become captain at all. Chakotay defected to a group of freedom fighters, and Kelvin Kirk disobeyed orders and was very lucky not to be severely disciplined. Granted, Pine's character would probably have been given the benefit of the doubt given his heroics, but bumping him up to the captain of the Enterprise still feels extreme and unrealistic over 15 years after the movie's release. Chakotay's time in the Delta Quadrant was then spent earning Janeway's trust and serving his ship in a way that was ultimately equal to or greater than the efforts of other Star Trek first officers. On the other hand, Chakotay's story makes far more sense. Yes, he left Starfleet and pursued more reckless methods, but he had a storied career within the organization before that. Chakotay's time in the Delta Quadrant was then spent earning Janeway's trust and serving his ship in a way that was ultimately equal to or greater than the efforts of other Star Trek first officers. His story is one of redemption, and one that ultimately ends in a reward of his recovered commission remaining intact. Inversely, Kirk becoming a Star Trek captain so soon feels very reckless on Starfleet's behalf. In the vast cosmos of Star Trek, where starships leap across quadrants and command structures are meticulously defined by Starfleet regulations, promotions aren't supposed to come easily or quickly. And yet, on 2 separate occasions across the franchise's sprawling canon, 2 different characters were catapulted into command chairs so swiftly it nearly defied warp physics. One of those was James T. Kirk and J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009. The other? Commander Chakotay in Star Trek Voyager. And strangely enough, Chakotay's improbable rise almost makes Chris Pine's Kirk's leap to captain seem, well, not so illogical after all. When Star Trek Voyager premiered in 1995, fans were introduced to a bold new concept: two crews, Starfleet and Maquis, stranded together in the Delta Quadrant, 70,000 light-years from home. Captain Janeway's decision to integrate the renegade Maquis into her chain of command was meant to symbolize unity and the Federation's core ideals of cooperation. Enter Chakotay, former Maquis leader, who by the end of the first episode is sitting comfortably as Voyager's first officer. One moment a rebel leader, the next the second highest-ranking Starfleet officer on the ship. His field commission as commander, reinstated almost instantly, raised eyebrows then and still does today. Compare that to Chris Pine's James T. Kirk. In Star Trek 2009, Kirk starts the film as a reckless cadet, fast-talking his way through Starfleet Academy. By the climax, he's taken command of the Enterprise after Captain Pike is incapacitated and Spock steps aside. By the film's end, Kirk is awarded permanent command, bypassing years of expected service, training, and ranks. Many longtime Trekkies balked at this narrative sleight of hand. How could a cadet with one field mission under his belt realistically become captain of the fleet's flagship? It felt implausible, even within Trek's flexible storytelling parameters. But Chakotay's promotion years earlier set an unspoken precedent. His situation, while cloaked in the moral necessity of survival and integration, was equally eyebrow-raising. After all, Chakotay had abandoned Starfleet to join the Maquis, effectively turning traitor. When Voyager's original first officer, Commander Cavett, perishes in the pilot episode, Janeway decides to reinstate Chakotay's Starfleet rank and appoint him her XO. There's no tribunal. No months of retraining. No long road to redemption. Instead, Chakotay is instantly trusted not only with Starfleet responsibilities, but with being second in command of an isolated ship on a potentially decades-long mission home. The narrative justification in both cases hinges on necessity. For Voyager, Chakotay's tactical knowledge, command experience with the Maquis, and rapport with his crew make him a valuable leader Janeway can't afford to alienate. For Kirk, the dire crisis with Nero, his instinctive brilliance, and Pike's own endorsement fast-track him into command. Both characters benefit from extreme circumstances, the kind of scenarios that allow Starfleet's typically rigid hierarchy to bend dramatically. Where Chakotay's promotion arguably feels smoother is in his prior Starfleet service. Before joining the Maquis, Chakotay was a decorated officer and academy graduate. He wasn't some green cadet. He had commanded ships and missions. His reinstatement, while abrupt, restored a rank he'd legitimately earned. Kirk, conversely, leapfrogs entirely over the usual career trajectory. From cadet to captain in under a week? It's audacious even by cinematic standards. Yet understanding Chakotay's arc helps retroactively frame Kirk's rise as slightly less jarring. Star Trek has, historically, allowed for dramatic promotions under extraordinary conditions. Both men exhibited exceptional leadership when thrust into life-threatening scenarios. Both earned the trust of their crews rapidly. And both narratives leaned heavily on the thematic notion that in times of crisis, unconventional leaders sometimes emerge as the best hope. Of course, the distinction also lies in medium and intent. Voyager was Kirk's